Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the South Point Master Show. I'm Barry Phillips, and it's good to be back at the South Point Studios. We're here for the Ryder Cup last year, and we'll be here for the majors this year, starting with the #1 tournament in golf, the Masters. And joining me is CJ Schmid, PGA professional and golf handicapper. CJ, great to have you with us.
Good to be on here. Glad to talk about my favorite tournament of the year with you, Barry.
Well, the Masters is by far the best, isn't it?
If you don't have this circle on your calendar as a golfer, I'm questioning what your favorite tournament is, to be honest with you.
Well, it's the 88th playing of the Masters. There's going to be 89 players in it. One got in on Sunday when he won the Valero Texas Open, Shea Batia. What a finish that tournament was on Sunday.
I mean, it makes me want to question fist pumping at the end.
Right.
But, yeah, no, that was an awesome finish. And just going into a playoff at the very end there and just coming in clutch. What a way to win.
Yeah,
to get
Danny
into
McCarthy
Augusta.
played pretty well as well. A guy who made 7 birdies in a row and 8 out of 9 on the back nine.
Yeah.
Pretty good golf. What's the most you've ever had in a row?
I think the most I've ever had in a row, I think was like 4.
Yeah.
And I was just on it. And I was like, all right, yep, it's it. This is the time. And then I don't know. You know how golf is.
3 chip-ins and a 40-footer probably.
Probably something like that.
Yeah, I mean, 7's unheard of. Even on the tour, that's an all-time record now for number of putts in a tournament when he had, I think it was 91 or 92 for the 4 days. And it got Danny McCarthy into the tournament as well as a Shea Batia. He finished second. So a couple of guys got added to the field late for the Masters. Well, it's going to be a great tournament. You know, out of the tournament, they do the cut on Friday. 50 guys move on. It's the smallest field in all of the majors with just 89 players. Realistically, 25, 30 guys probably don't have a shot to win it. So the cut at 50 is a good number.
Yeah.
It usually comes right around even par to +3 or 4. In fact, that's one of the props we'll talk about later. The leader, as far as categories to get in, Scotty Scheffler. He's #1 in the world. And Scotty qualified by 9 of the 19 criteria to get in. I mean, the guy he's Tiger-like right now, isn't he?
Yeah, no question about it. Just the definition of the face of just really good golf right now. That is the guy you want as your face of golf if you're the PGA Tour right now.
Well, he's won 2 of his last 3 tournaments. He's the chalk going into the Masters at 4-1, which is the lowest anybody's been since Tiger. Tiger, at one point, Tiger was like a 2-1 at the Masters and at a couple of majors. That's when he was really in his prime.
Yeah.
But nobody's been lower than 7. And right now, Scotty Scheffler has been bet down to 4. So qualifications include being in the top 50. And that's how most of these guys got in here. Got a lot of memories of the Masters. I actually went to the Masters myself in 2003, the practice round on Wednesday. Saw the par 3 tournament, which will be televised on Wednesday. And it's awesome. You go through the gates, almost like Disneyland. There's about 8 or 10 or 12 gates. And you go through, and it gives the little tingle when it checks your ticket. Then it actually is a pathway that's not more than 20 feet wide. And you're just going down, meandering down this little pathway. You pass the merchandise tent, or it's not a tent any longer. It's a big building on the right. And there it is. I mean, you just walk out into all its glory of the big green field, and you see the scoreboard of #1 to the right. The clubhouse is on your left, and you just got to take a pause. It takes your breath away. It's amazing. They talk about the drive down Magnolia Lane, something you and I will never do. But walking down the path just to see the first tee is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the special hallowed places in golf, and there's a reason for it. A lot of people that I've worked with, especially in the golf industry, they always ask me when they go to Augusta National, just as whether it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal or whatever, they always say, think of the most magical place you've ever thought of at a golf course. Or it could be, like you said, Disneyland or anything like that. And then you multiply it by 10. And that's really what it feels like to walk onto Augusta. And, one of those days, well, like you said, the Magnolia Drive may not happen, but just getting to be on something as special as that is a great thing to witness. And
hopefully get to get out there someday. I enjoyed it. It's one of my lasting memories. A lot of memories of the Masters. In fact, a lot of cashes. I cashed back in '91 when Ian Woosnam won, 50-1 ticket I had back then. I was at Chris Andrews' house that day. It was his birthday party, and we watched the final round on Sunday at Chris's, and Woosnam won at 50-1. I also had Adam Scott the year that he won in 2013, and it was bittersweet. He was 50-1 when Adam Scott won. I had a ticket on Angel Cabrera. He was 100-1. Remember, they got in a playoff. And the first playoff hole, Cabrera had a chip in that ringed it and didn't drop. And then Adam Scott went on the second playoff hole And I still got a 50-1 ticket that I cashed that time. So
Okay,
it wasn't bad.
okay.
I also had Charles Schwartzel the year he won. I had him, and I think it was 40-1. So I've had some really good cash. There's some value in this tournament. I
Yeah.
mean, the chalk is always going to be there.
Yeah.
But this is a tournament where some of these guys in that 30, 40, 50 range do have a legitimate shot of cashing if the putter gets hot.
That's the big thing right there. And we'll talk about it more later too. But if you can putt at this course, not just if you can get onto the green in a decent spot, but if you can putt, that gets rid of any anomaly or anything, and you can stay in it all the way through Sunday just off that.
Well, Jordan Spieth is an example of that. He's been, the boss of the Moss for the last 10 years, and he won in 15, made a lot of putts. In fact, he was on Golf Channel earlier today, and they were talking about his success there. He's had 6 top 10s. They asked him why. He said, it's all putting.
Yep.
He goes, if you can putt here, you can win here. And you got to hit the ball in the right spot on the green to make putts.
Yes.
And that's a key. My final note on the Masters is my father passed away in 2010 on Saturday, the year Mickelson won it. So we celebrate his birthday on Saturday of the Masters. I don't know what date he actually passed away. I don't know if it's the 10th, 11th, 12th.
Sure.
But he passed away on Saturday of the Masters, and so that's kind of a special day for me as well and my family. And we watched the Masters together for years. It's just a really special thing.
That's awesome.
Well, we're here to talk about betting the Masters. And starting at the top of the sheet at the South Point here, Scotty Scheffler is right on the top of the sheet. And Scotty's number 1 in the world. He won it in 2022. He was right there last year, but did not win it. He opened at 7-1. He's been bet down to 4-1 now here at the South Point and all over town. The shortest number we've seen in a long, long time. He's clearly the favorite and somebody a lot of guys like. I don't know if there's a lot of value there at 4-1, but what are you thinking of Scotty this year?
I think if you're going for a Scotty Scheffler pick, you're probably not going for, do I get the big value pick? You're going for probably the safer, I want somebody that's going to be consistent and feel better about getting that money back, right? Yeah. Scotty Scheffler, there's a reason he's number 1 in the world, right? Yeah. Just had that insane dominant run the last really 2 years.
Yep.
And that's because of how he just approaches every single course, right? You can say what you want about his footwork. You can say all of the putting struggles that he had up until the last few months. But like you said, nobody since Tiger has been getting to that low at 4-1.
Right. And the thing about it, as you just mentioned, his footwork is he's the best ball striker on tour. You would never know when you watch some of the replays of his footwork, but the guy hits the ball straight. He hits it high, hits it low with his low irons and high with his larger or lower number irons. The guy's just an amazing player. He's the favorite. I think you're right. I don't know if I'm not going to make a bet on Scotty Scheffler, but I will have him in my pool. Like I'm in a lot of golf pools out there for the Masters where you need to have 4 or 5 golfers. He's going to be there at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to win it, but he's going to be. There's a couple of guys like that are going to be at the end. Another one is Jon Rahm. Probably will be there at the end, although the thing that scared me about Jon Rahm was, Jon Rahm was down on the LIV Tour. He didn't like the LIV Tour, said a lot of bad things about the LIV Tour. Wasn't his thing, didn't want to play just the 54 holes. Then he won the Masters last year.
Yes.
And after he wins the Masters, he jumps to the LIV for $300 million. And the conversation was, well, he now can play the Masters the rest of his life because if you win the Masters, you're invited back as long as you want to play.
That's right.
So if he had not won the Masters, would he have jumped to the LIV Tour is a question. And second is, he's been playing 54-hole tournaments where there's no cut. Is he sharp enough this year to repeat or be in the top 5 or 10 when it comes down to the stretch?
Yeah, I still think he's going to be somebody that you look out for during the Masters. The thing with him is, again, similar to Scotty Scheffler, he's got that kind of wacky little swing that's a little bit short, a little bit abbreviated. Everybody knows about the whole different foot situation that we got going on with him there. But the thing is, on LIV Tour, he's still averaging 3 out of 4 greens in regulation. So it may be a 54-hole tournament now, right? As I like to joke, it's like a glorified member guest at times. But I think even with that in mind, he's still, like you said, a pool pick. I think that's a really solid pick.
Yeah. And Jon Rahm opened at 7-1. He's actually been bet up or bet down. He's now at 12-1. Chris has raised the number on him a little bit, trying to get some action off of Scotty Scheffler and onto Jon Rahm. Third is Rory McIlroy. McIlroy opened at 7-1. He's now 12-1. Snake bit. I mean, Rory has been right there in all the majors. You saw when Cameron Smith outdueled him at the Open. And, the year he led, there's a great story that people don't talk about with Rory. He led the Open by 7 shots. And clearly he was going to win it. This when he was young. This was, I forget the year this happened, but he was very young. And he's leading it, and he's got no issues. Well, Phil and Tiger went out together earlier in the day. And Tiger, I think, shot 31 and Phil shot 32 or vice versa. And Rory saw that watching in the clubhouse, and he went out bogey, double bogey, triple bogey. Remember, he made the turn. He hit it into those houses on the left, or cabanas, whatever those are, cabins to the left. And he's never recovered from that as far as playing at Augusta, although he's one away from winning the Grand Slam, which only 4 guys have ever done.
Yeah, and this is the one that just keeps getting away. It just keeps getting away. And I love how you mentioned that Tiger Phil duel almost, because you mentioned earlier your favorite Masters memories. That still is something that I just love thinking about whenever I think of favorite Masters moments. And that might have scared Rory, and now he might have he's got a million other things going on. He's Rory McIlroy.
Yeah. He's the face of the PGA Tour. He's put a lot of pressure on himself. Again, the value at 7 or 12 to 1 on Rory. At 12, I do kind of like a little bit of Rory. Another guy I would put in, if I were in a pool, I would put Rory right there as well. Yep. He's in the top 5 on Chris's sheet. There's a lot of other guys. There's 89 other guys, but I think on Sunday, when you look at, take a bet on who's going to be there in the final 5 guys. Yep. I think Rory's going to be there. I think Scotty's going to be there. Rahm probably will be there, but I wouldn't make that wager. I don't think Rahm's going to be. Yep. He could be, but I'm not making him one of my top 5 picks. Sure. And you can bet, not here at South Point, but there's some places around town where you can bet who's going to finish in the top 5, who's going to finish in the top 10. Number 4 is Jordan. And Spieth is, he's still great. Yep. He's 20 to 1. But I don't know if you saw his scorecard a couple weeks ago at San Antonio. This is the back 9. He started on 11 on the back 9. Exactly. He went 5 for bogey, 3 for birdie, 3 for par, 7 for double, 4 for par, 1 an ace. Yep. He makes birdie 3 and then a 5. Sound like a telephone number. 5-3-3-7-4-1-3. I mean, he's got driving problems. Yep. He's 79 below. I think he was 79th. I don't know what he played last week at Houston, but he was 79th in driving distance and accuracy. Was outside of 70. Yeah. So he's hitting the ball everywhere. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because ever since that 2015 through 16 run of just absolute dominance, when he decided, the one weak part of my game is I want to work on my driver, right? Yeah. I want to make sure that I'm not the laughing stock of being the short guy that can just putt all the time. And since then, he's really tapered off. Still top 10 putter of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. But since he's been really trying to work on that driver, it's actually hurt him, to be honest with you, more.
We have 6 top 10s at for some reason he comes alive at Augusta, which you can drive it all over the place at Augusta, but you can't drive it into the wrong spots at Augusta. And if he can hit it straight or semi-straight, there's a guy that could be there on Sunday and should be. He was there again last year. Yeah. He finished top 6 again last year. He's 20 to 1. And then rounding out the top 5 on the South Point Master sheet is Patrick Cantlay, a guy who hasn't really been on the boards a lot this year. Another guy gets super hot with his putter. Yep. He's 20 to 1. I think he's jumped up now. I think Cantlay's at 25. No, he's still at 21. He's at 20 to 1 in the top 5. The other guys that are right there is Xander's at 15 to 1. Koepka's at 15 to 1. Those are, the top 6, 7 guys as far as the low number on the board. Yep. What do you like out of those guys?
So we'll talk more about it later when we go, our picks for it. But I really like Xander Schauffele out of those guys that you had mentioned. Yeah. I think he's been just super consistent this year. I think he's knocking on the door for that Masters win just to really showcase his talent. He's got all the firepower in the world. You got a guy that's got a complete game. If I were to pick one guy, and like I said, we'll talk more about it later, but if I had one guy, it'd be him.
Well, Xander's currently at 15 to 1, so, pretty good value. Yep. When people bet horses, if they could get a 15 to 1 on something that's potentially, one of the top horses in the race, 15 to 1 is a pretty good number. Yep. Usually you're looking at 3, 4, 5 to 1, so I love it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about past winners and take a look at some of the props later on in the show.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, Join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Well, CJ, I want to talk a little bit about past winners. When I bet the Masters, and when I bet any golf tournament, and I bet almost them I bet them every single week, I like to look at horses for courses, or I like to look at how a guy did the year before or 2 years prior to see if there's a guy that loves that particular golf course and played it well recently. Former winners at Augusta, there's a lot of guys that have won twice. Bubba Watson's one of them that comes to mind. That Bubba's 250 to 1 in this week's tournament, but he's won twice. And
Yes.
Bubba, he's a guy that we're going to talk a little bit later. But past winners, we mentioned Rahm, we mentioned Scheffler, Spieth, didn't mention Hideki Matsuyama, who actually is one of my best bets, if not my best bet. And when I talk about that a little bit later, others include Dustin Johnson. He finished 48th last year, and he's the only guy that ever won in November. Remember, he won the COVID year.
Yes, the year nobody saw.
Yeah. And when you kind of look at some of those names, they're live guys now. Johnson, you never hear about him because he's on the live tour. Rahm, you really don't hear about him because he's on the live tour. In fact, John Rahm hasn't won since last year's Masters, and he's playing on a live tour with limited fields, 54 holes. You mentioned he hits the ball well still, but he hasn't won, and that's a little scary.
Yeah.
Here's one that there's some huge value on, I think, that people might want to take a look at. He's not one of my favorite players to follow, but Patrick Reed. Guy's got a lot going on in his personal life, but he's listed at 100 to 1 in this tournament. He won the Masters. He's had top 10s in 3 of the last 4 years. He's a grinder. They call him Captain America at one time when he's a Ryder Cupper. Patrick Reed have a chance this week, do you think?
I think he does. And I think it's not, again, like kind of like what you said, not necessarily how his form has been, but just off the fact that he knows the course.
Yeah.
He's a grinder. He is a guy, whether you like his personality or not, he's a guy that is dependable and loves Augusta National.
Yeah, loves Augusta. He loves to compete.
Yes.
This guy loves to compete.
At the biggest stage.
Yeah, I think that, at 100 to 1, there's some real value. This guy might have the best value in the field. At a former champion at 100 to 1, who is still, fairly young. He's in his 30s and competes hard on the live tour. He's been kind of quiet. After he first went to live, he talked quite a bit, but he's kind of calmed down on that a little bit. Of course, Tiger's at 100 to 1. Phil's at 150 to 1. Phil's got 3 wins. Tiger's got 5. Now, the scary part about Tiger, he's withdrawn out of 3 of his last 5 events.
Yeah.
But he's made 24 straight cuts, and this would be a record if he were to make the cut this year. It would be 25 in a row. There's actually a prop. Will he make the cut? But and there's actually, you can have a proposition, or you can have a match bet. You can have Tiger versus Phil. Phil's minus $1.35 in that matchup, and Tiger's plus 115. So you get Tiger plus money as one of the former winners.
Crazy to think.
Yeah. Adam Scott, he opened at 100 to 1. He's at 75 to 1. Putting issues, but Adam hits the ball as good as anybody still today. He was on the leaderboard a couple of weeks ago.
Best swing in golf.
Danny Willett is at 500 to 1. He's the guy that won the year that Spieth threw up all over himself on 12, if you recall.
Very diplomatic of you to say it that way.
The funny thing about that, when you hit it in the water on 12, is the guys go over to the drop area on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I've always wondered why they don't just re-tee it right on the tee box, knowing that shot better than the drop area. And it's happened a couple of times. Francisco Molinari had the same thing when he he coughed it up on 12, and Spieth the year that he made the triple. And
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, they do. Sergio Garcia, 300-1. Sergio has changed putters. He just went to a putter that he used in 1999. He gave it to Scotty Cameron. He refinished it, cleaned it up, and he got in a playoff last week in the Live,
Yes.
but lost. And so Sergio, not a big believer that Sergio can be there. He kind of snuck in the year that he won it.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba's at 250-1, and I actually think Bubba's worth $10.
Yeah.
I mean, $10 gets you 2,500.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Throw something in for him.
Sure. Charles Schwartzel was a guy that I had when he was 50-1 many years ago. He's a guy that, just like I picked up a little bit earlier, he finished second the year before. He had finished in the top 5 the year before that, and then he won.
Yep.
He won on the Live earlier this year, back in February.
Yes,
So
he did.
Charles Schwartzel is 500-1. And then the rest of the field, there's Freddie Couples at 2,000, Mike Weir, Vijay Singh, Jose Maria Olazabal. They're all at 3,001. They're in the field. There's a bet, will Freddie make the cut? He's 53 now, 54 years old now.
That sounds ballpark about right.
Talk about a guy that knows that golf course.
Yeah. I mean, those are some pretty big odds, even on a prop bet if he can make the cut. But if Freddie can do it, then that's props to him.
Yeah. So I just mentioned I like to bet guys that have played well in the past. Past winners are guys that I really like. I take a look at last year. Phil finished second.
Yep.
Koepka was right there. He led for 3 rounds before he got knocked out. Russell Henley finished 4th last year. He's 75-1. He was on the leaderboard last weekend. He's been on the leaderboard several times this year. When I get to the best bets later on the show, I'm giving a tip in my hand, but I really like Russell Henley this week at 75-1 for some value.
Yeah.
So in 2022, the leaderboard was Scheffler, who won it. Then Rory was second. Shane Lowry was third. Cameron Smith, and then Morikawa.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are all in the 20 to 30 range. Cameron Smith, 30-1. Before he went to the Live, he was Scotty Scheffler.
Correct.
He won the Open when he dueled Rory. He was right there at the Masters. He was that year. And then he went to the Live. Couldn't knock him. The kid came from a dirt poor upbringing.
Yeah.
And they gave him, I heard, something like $200 million to go.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Smith, have you followed him at all since
I
he went to Live?
love Cameron Smith's game. Love everything that he brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like what you said too, Barry, that's a guy that I can't fault a lot of these players for going to Live for that kind of money. And in Cameron Smith's case, you mentioned it from his background, and then he succeeds on the PGA Tour, and then Liv says, "Hey, we want to pay you $200-300 million." Yeah, I'm taking that check and I'm going straight to the bank.
But you can't feel sorry for him because there's a lot of guys that aren't in the Masters this year that have been. Twitter's been blowing up. Oosthuizen's not in the Masters this year. Abraham Answer's not in. Taylor Gooch isn't in. Jason Korkrak isn't in. Kevin Na isn't in. Those are all guys that were in last year via qualifying by their PGA Tour play, and because they went to the Live, none of them are in it this year. Here's who's in it from the Live. It's Rahm, Koepka, Dustin Johnson, I mentioned, Tyrrell Hatton, who was a guy
Boy,
that
Tyrrell.
I really liked. Tyrrell Hatton a couple of years ago. I bet him big in the Masters, and he finished top 5. But he's a guy you haven't seen lately as he disappeared. Cameron Smith, we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the numbers. Rahm's 12-1. Koepka's 20. Johnson's 35. Hatton's 80-1. And Smith is 30-1. 2 other guys, Joaquin Newman and Adrian Meronk, are also in the field at a higher number.
Yep.
Do you think a Live guy can win it? I mean, they do have an axe to grind. They want to prove that they are still playing golf.
Yes, and I think that there's actually a really high chance for a Live guy to win. We talk about, the Rahms and the Koepkas and the DJs of the world. They're always going to be there in the firepower that they have, like you said. I'm interested to actually see Cameron Smith and Joaquin Neiman and how they play, though. They have been really lighting it up on the Live Tour. Just putting up really solid numbers. Cameron Smith tapered off a little bit. But it'd be interesting to see Neiman kind of put his hat in the ring and see how he can do up against the big guns.
Yeah, I'm trying to find him on the sheet right now, and I'm having problems without my glasses.
I got him at 30-1 as of right now.
So Joaquin at 30-1 is probably really good value. I agree. He's been playing really well on the Live.
Yeah.
That's different. It's 72 holes, just like last week. Last year, Koepka led for 54. He would have won it if it was a Live event.
Yeah.
But he didn't bring it home on Sunday, and it's playing on Sunday is huge.
Sunday at the Masters is big compared to the Live Masters for 54.
And although these guys work out, they're in shape. The Masters, as I told you, I was there. It is a very hilly golf course. You're tired coming in on Sunday, these guys. That's why I'm a little concerned about Tiger with his legs and being able to walk those hills. But when you go up 1, you go up and then down and then straight up to the green. 2 is a par 5. You go down the whole way. But like when you come up 9 or 18, you're walking straight uphill. It's a huge, it's a stronger incline than going up a overpass to a freeway.
Yes.
And you think about last time you walked up on the road and you were walking up an overpass, it's steep. And so you got to be in shape.
Yep.
I got an interesting stat. You and I were talking about stats before we went on the air. So here's the top 5 players scoring average when you talk about how good these guys are. Scotty Scheffler this year, number 1 in the world, has played 31 rounds. He's got a 69.021 scoring average. Xander Schauffele, 69.924 through 31 rounds. Billy Horschel has it 69.931 through 27 holes. And Alex Noren, who's at 250 to 1, is 4th in the scoring average at 69.941. So Alex Noren at 250 to 1, he's 4th in scoring average. Is he a guy that we should look at a little bit?
If you're looking for a dark horse guy in your pool, yeah, that's absolutely a guy you pick up, just even if for a top 5 pick.
Yeah. Wyndham Clark, 70.219. As we know, Clark is the defending U.S. Open champion. So there's the difference, right? Scotty Scheffler's won twice and has a 3rd place finish, and those guys haven't had a win between them yet, although Scheffler had a 2nd at the Players and behind Scotty. So Scheffler is right there as well.
Yeah.
Another little note, Scotty Scheffler's wife is pregnant and is due in the next 3 weeks. So if she were to go into labor early, Scheffler has vowed that he would withdraw from the tournament. Sam Burns' wife is also pregnant. She's due 2 weeks after the tournament. And Sam Burns and Scotty Scheffler are staying in the same house together. They're best friends. So it'd be interesting to see if those guys even make it through.
Checks out.
How would you like to have that? You put a big wager on a 4-1 favorite. Here's your chalk, and the guy withdraws after the 3rd round because his wife's having a baby.
Is going into labor early a prop bet? Do we have that?
No, they don't have it, but it's there. So if it's not Scheffler, who's it going to be? Patrick Cantley, the guy we mentioned earlier, 25 to 1. Koepka, 20 to 1. Haven't mentioned Tony Finau today, who Tony Finau led the Masters a couple years ago before fading. Cameron Smith at 30 to 1. Matthew Fitzpatrick, former U.S. Open winner, he's at 50 to 1. Reed, as I mentioned, 100 to 1. Russell Henley at 75. And then I just mentioned Alex Noren, who finished 3rd in this tournament last year.
Yes.
And has the 3rd or 4th best scoring averages at 250 to 1. Tons of value if I don't take Scheffler.
Yeah.
You kind of look at those guys.
I love all of those picks. I think if you're looking for a value pick, Noren is a really great pick. I think, honestly, you can't go wrong with any of those people you really mentioned. Those are all people that know how to play this course. I love Matt Fitzpatrick, though. Have you seen the Full Swing documentary that he has?
It's the
Netflix?
next one. It's the next one up. I haven't seen his yet. I've watched the first couple this year.
So between that and then just also some other little documentaries, he's got so many notes. And he stashes all of these notes of every single course he's played and all of these statistics. And when we go into best bets, we'll talk more about stats. But all of these little notes in there. And if anybody's going to be the most prepared to make that jump, that value bet, it's going to be Fitzpatrick.
I actually read that he has written down every shot that he's hit since he was like 18 years old or something like that. Every single shot.
It's wild.
And pours over it. So
yeah.
And the guy won a master and won a major. He won a U.S. Open. So he's possibly right there. As we know, the Masters is, a ball striking. The reason Tiger won it so many times is Tiger can hit it low, Tiger can hit it high, Tiger can hit a cut, Tiger can hit a fade. A lot of these guys, don't move the ball around a whole lot anymore. They go their go-to as a cut or their go-to as a draw, and you've got to hit some high cuts into several holes at Augusta. You've got to hit some high draws into several holes at Augusta. And if you miss them, you got to miss them in the right spot. That's where a guy like Hideki Matsuyama, who's number 1 in scoring average as far as scrambling, the guy, he's unbelievable chipper. He does get cold with his putter every once in a while, but when it's hot, he won it a couple of years ago, and he shot 62 at Riviera this year in the final round to win. And he was on the leaderboard a couple of weeks ago. So he's another guy that he's right there, that Matsuyama, who I like. And then long shots, we kind of talked about him. There's Alex Noren at 250, Bubba Watson at 250, Phil's at 200 or 150, depending where you're at in town. Here they've got him at 200 now. He was at 150. Tiger's at 100.
Mhm.
It's kind of cool just to have a ticket with Tiger's name on it, 100 to 1, right?
You got to put 10 on Tiger every time.
There's just $1,000.
Yeah.
It's a nice little vacation.
Yeah.
Right? Go on
Yeah.
a cruise or something.
Yeah, why not? And you get to see Tiger just play the Masters too, and hopefully pull out something out to get a major number 15. Yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah. So we've got best bets coming up in a little bit, but before we get to best bets, we're going to talk about some props. We're also going to talk some head-to-head matchups, and we'll be back with more right after this.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back to the South Point Master Show. As I'm Barry Phillips, and this is CJ Schmid joining us. We're ready to jump into matchups, CJ. And if you like betting golf, which I do, and I know you do, matchups are a way to really pay attention to what's going on.
Mhm.
Sometimes you bet a guy and he gets knocked out. It doesn't even make the cut, and here you are on Saturday and Sunday, and you got no action going on.
Yeah.
Or he's not in the hunt. Somebody gets hot and they're blowing away the field. But matchups will keep you in action the whole time because you got one guy going against another guy,
Yep.
and anything can happen when there's just 2 guys playing. You've seen it happen. 8s, 9s, 10s happen, triple bogeys, missed putts.
Anything match related, match play, match up, doesn't matter. Golf is a crapshoot at that point.
Yeah. And they've got some really cool ones here because Chris has put together some of these live guys against some of the PGA guys, and there's a lot of them. There's an entire sheet of matchups starting on Thursday, so they go all 4 days, but you start off with right at the top of the sheet, Tiger Woods versus Phil Mickelson. What a way to tee it up. Tiger's plus 115. Phil is minus 135. Now, on the betting sheet, Tiger's plus 100 and Phil is plus 200.
Yes.
But Phil's the favorite in the head-to-head matchup. So there's a little bit of an issue there. I love Tiger in this matchup, plus a little bit of money, just because Phil's gone to the live, and you haven't even heard about Phil unless he put something on Twitter as far as his golf game. If in over 24 months, well, I take that back. Last year at the Masters, he finished second. But besides that one tournament, I haven't seen him on a live leaderboard anywhere. Haven't seen him at all.
And so that's going to be kind of where we kind of disagree. As somebody that grew up watching Tiger, seeing him play, and essentially, like, to me, golf is Tiger Woods. In this matchup, though, I'm taking Phil, and it's not even close. Yes, you have to bet $1.35 to get something back. But the thing is, like you said, he finished second in the Masters last year. Tiger, we're not even sure if he's going to be able to finish 36 holes. Phil, even if he gets to that Saturday, that's already beating Tiger.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's a good point. I am concerned about Tiger's legs, but I don't know. I think Phil has kind of mailed it in the live tour, and I don't know how much he's practicing anymore. So
yeah, my
Tiger,
heart. Oh, go ahead.
Well, Tiger played with Zalatoris in a practice round.
Yep.
and they said his ball speed was upward of 175.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still hitting the ball. It's just a matter of if he can walk 36 holes to make the cut.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of why Chris has this kind of set up the way it is. My heart, my gut, and my entire golf soul wants Tiger not just to win this matchup, but just to win the whole thing. But if I were a betting man and I was putting money down, I would go with Phil.
Well, he withdrew from Riviera. He said it was plantar fasciitis, but several guys got sick at Riviera this year.
Yes.
They had like a hamburger stand, not mentioning the brand, but they had a hamburger stand there, and everyone got complimentary food, and a bunch of guys got sick.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tiger was trying to protect that brand, or if it was plantar fasciitis, but he has withdrawn 3 out of 5. Hopefully he can make it. Here's one thing I know about Tiger is he loves records, right?
Yes.
He wants to hold records.
Yes.
And he's got 24 cuts in a row. If he makes this cut, it's 25. He's the all-time cut leader. Don't know if that'll ever be broken. I just don't see it happening. Guys don't play that long anymore, right?
No.
They're making so much money that it's hard to stay motivated for 25 years of making the cut at the Masters. So
Yeah.
I think he's going to grind.
He will. Oh, he absolutely will. And I really hope I'm proven wrong.
All
Let's make that clear.
So now let's take a look at U.S. versus UK, although Rory's really, a U.S. player now, but Rory against Scotty Scheffler,
Mm-hmm.
and Scotty Scheffler's minus 175, Rory plus 155. Rory's clearly number 2 in the world.
Yes.
But that's a big number, Rory plus 155.
That's an aggressive number. That's a very aggressive number. There's value in that either way, because to me, Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, that's a coin flip on who's going to finish better over the weekend. But if you're looking for a value pick and you really trust in Rory, that's...
Well, he's right there. They have Scotty Scheffler. So it's Scheffler versus Rahm. He's laying 190. And Scotty and John Rahm's plus 170. Another, if you don't believe in Scotty Scheffler, you can make some money.
Easily.
In these values. But I'm not the guy going to bet against Scotty Scheffler.
Nope, not me.
And Xander is plus 155 versus Scotty, who's minus 175. And then we get to some cool matchups. Rory McIlroy versus John Rahm. Rory minus 120 in that matchup. And it's even money for John Rahm. Rory versus Xander. They're both minus 110.
Yeah.
I don't know if we gave enough time to Xander earlier. Here's a guy that's been right there 6 times now. He's finished in the top 5 in majors.
Mm-hmm.
The knock on him is he can't win a major. He just finished 2nd at the Players.
Yep.
I can't bet against Xander Schauffele. In fact, I have a friend of mine, Ryan, who I bet a lot of golf, and he and I talk about it quite a bit. I bet Xander Schauffele in every major for like the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And he hasn't won one. And I kept saying, if I keep betting, he's going to win one. But now it's starting to get where the value's gone.
Yes.
Right? I've already done it 15 times. He's only 15-1. So I don't know if I ever get my money back on Xander.
Yeah, I think, if you go back to, the early teens when Ricky Fowler was getting really big and really popular, right? That was the guy that a lot of people, that was the flashy fun pick, right? You wanted him to win every single major. You wanted him to just be the most successful person ever. And I'm starting to kind of see that now with Xander. The difference, though, here is that Xander does have, like you said, he's got that swing. He's got that consistency. He's knocking on that door. If you look at his last 8 starts, 7 of them, he's made the top 25. Not just made the cut, made the top 25.
Right.
So you want a guy that's playing hot going into the Masters, especially with that 2nd at the Players. I really like Xander in that matchup.
Very hungry. He wants to win a major,
Yeah.
so I think he'll be there. He's one of the guys when I was mentioning who's going to be there in the top 10 or top 5. Then I think Xander's going to be one of those guys that's there, and I love Xander in that spot as well. You got Xander versus John Rahm, and they're both laying 110. So in golf, typically you're not laying the vig in golf. You're betting them just to win, 20-1, 30-1, 5-1, whatever your number is. But in the matchups, you do have to lay the vig. And Xander, you're laying the 110. Against John Rahm, who potentially was number 1 in the world before he jumps over to the LIV.
Yes.
It's the LIV has just messed everything up.
It's all over. It's made everything difficult and confusing. It's made it hard at times to watch golf.
Yes. Have you tried to watch LIV on TV?
I have.
Don't love it.
Can't stand it.
You know why? Some guys that went to the tournament when I was here in town, I was talking to a bunch of members over at Canyon Gate, and they said it was the best experience. They went and watched the LIV thing. They loved the music, the party atmosphere. But when you're watching golf on TV and you're watching the leaders coming down the stretch, you know that whatever happened to Schauffele on number 15, that hole's coming up for the
Yes.
guy who's playing behind him. And, it happened with Angel Cabrera in the Masters a couple years ago. He was right there. The year he lost to Adam Scott in the playoff. He hit into the pine straw on 15, and it was raining, and it was cold. And he went for it at 2, and he hit it into the water, and he made bogey, and he ends up in the playoff. If he just laid up, knowing that he had done that, now here comes Adam Scott behind him, and Adam Scott lays up, and Adam Scott makes birdie on the hole. And so you can't see that in the live golf because it's a shotgun start. You don't know what hole they're on, where they're at, and what the other guy's done or anything.
Yeah, and I actually was able to go to that event when it was over here in town as well, and it is cool. It's a full party scene. Don't get me wrong. We were on the party hole with the fireworks and the whole show and everything like that. But it's hard even when you're there to kind of keep track of everything because you're seeing people, if you stay at a hole, you're seeing people kind of like go through all of these different holes and then like, oh, well, this group has 1 hole left, 3 holes left, everything like that. And you're kind of adding this weird scramble element, almost in a way, not to severely downplay it, but it almost kind of feels like you're at a rush like junior golf event.
Yeah.
Because you're sending everybody off at one time.
Right.
And don't get
Hey,
me
we
wrong.
do that in the member guest and the member. That's the party. That's the party
Yeah.
I want to go to, not the
Yes.
actual PGA or a live tournament.
Yeah, and I think Liv is the member guest of the PGA Tour or of just professional golf.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's go down for a few more of these props. McIlroy versus Scheffler is both of those guys are minus 110, another good bet. Oh, so now Brooks Koepka it goes against Hideki Matsuyama, and in that one, Matsuyama is minus 160. Koepka plus 140. I mean, I'm not a Koepka fan, but I love Hideki in this tournament, but I kind of like Koepka
I do too.
value-wise, right?
Yeah, I do too. I love both of those players, especially when I'm on the lesson tee. I quote Matsuyama a lot, but seeing Brooks at 140, that's hard to just look away from.
Yeah. And Koepka, the thing about it is he's openly said, I only want to play in the majors. Yeah. If he could play 4 times a year, I think
he'd be fine.
Yeah, he'd be happy with that. So he's playing Jordan Spieth in one of the matchups. He's plus 125 or plus 115, and Spieth is minus 135. If you like Koepka, there's some value on Koepka in these matchups. Matsuyama versus Jordan Spieth. Spieth minus 115, or excuse me, Matsuyama minus 115, and Spieth minus 105. Here's a name we didn't talk a lot about. U.S. Open winner, defending champ, Wyndham Clark. He's plus 110 against Ludwig Aberg, who is the kid who came on the tour and played in the Ryder Cup before he'd ever won a tournament.
Yep. Yeah, that is the face right now of young European golf.
Yeah.
He just shot onto the scene after the Ryder Cup.
Right.
And he is all over. You can't talk to a single junior golfer in this town or really probably in the country without them knowing immediately who Ludwig is.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he's catching $1.30 in that one against Wyndham Clark, who's laying 110.
Yeah.
Clark against Joaquin Newman, and Newman's minus 120. And you mentioned Joaquin Newman earlier and how hot he's been on the live. It's only 54 holes. Once again, it's different. But Joaquin Newman, before he jumped the live, was an up-and-comer on the PGA Tour.
Yes.
A lot of people liked Joaquin Newman's game.
I am one of those people that is in a lot of people group. I think I know Wyndham's even there. I know he's the U.S. Open guy and everything like that. I really like Neiman if you're kind of lumping in a couple players for a parlay or anything like that.
Okay. A couple guys we haven't talked about at all is Will Zalatoris and Victor Hovland are matched up against each other. Zalatoris is plus 130. Hovland is minus 150 in that one. I didn't talk about Zalatoris earlier because, he had the back surgery. He came back. He shot a couple of 80s. Then he had a couple of good rounds, and he's kind of just been, not really showing a whole lot over the last month. He's hitting the ball okay. He's always had putting issues, although he tends to show up in the majors, and he shows up in the Masters. But I don't know if he totally recovered from the back surgery. And I had knee surgery, you know the story, but I had 7 knee surgeries. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Still having problem hitting the ball. So I'm thinking that he might not be ready yet, but there's a lot of people that like Will Zalatoris in this tournament.
Yes, and even with all of those injuries, I actually am a big fan of Zalatoris. I think he's starting to heat up almost at the right time. Again, you mentioned the back issues and everything like that. What he's done, though, with that, not only is he rehabilitated that back, but he's also changed his swing. I don't know if you know that, too, but he's actually made it so that his rotation around the spine and everything makes it easier for his back to withstand that long PGA Tour season. And right now, because of that, he's starting to get into that rhythm, that feel. He's actually top 10 in strokes gained approach to the green for the season right now. So
wow.
he may not have the results and the wins and everything like that right now, and he's been playing up and down golf. But if you talk about a guy that needs to get on the green in the right spot, Zalatoris is there. We'll see if he can do it at the Masters. But
Yeah. Greens in regulation means he's not putting very well.
yes,
It's always been his kind of issue. It's funny. I was watching him play before the injury one day. We were watching him. It might have been the Masters last year. It was a tournament before he was injured. And the guy I was with and we just watched him hit a drive. And we both just happened to look at each other at the same time and just shook our head like, how's that guy not have a bad back? And then a month later, he was having back surgery because he just swung so hard and so upright, right?
Mm-hmm.
He kind of almost had that reverse C, the old move that hurt a lot of backs. Well, Zalatoris against Victor Hovland is one matchup, and Zalatoris against Patrick Cantley is another. Zalatoris plus 105, Cantley minus 125. Going down the sheet, Hovland is minus 125 versus Patrick Cantley, 105. So a lot of the same names keep popping up in great matchups. I mean,
awesome.
Great matchups.
These
to
are
watch,
great.
Right? Yeah. Chris really has put the right guys against each other. And now we get to the live guys. Dustin Johnson against Bryson DeChambeau. Johnson minus 115. DeChambeau plus 115. DeChambeau, the favorite, at minus 135, despite the fact Johnson is a former winner here. DeChambeau actually led the Masters after the first round a couple of years ago and then faded, where Dustin Johnson has actually won it and has several top tens.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to bet that one or not, but if I did, I would probably bet Dustin Johnson. He finished 48th, I think, last year.
Yeah, I would stick with DJ if you were going to go on that matchup as well. I think, Bryson saying it's par 68, par 67, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think, again, that's one I kind of want to stay away from, just to kind of see how it is. But if I had to, I'd pick DJ.
I don't know if DeChambeau's hitting as far as he was prior. Is he still banging it like he was, or is
he's toned it down a little bit?
I haven't seen him. He went to the live, so I mean, he's just right out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
The next batch. So this shows sometimes you just throw good money after bad. I just said I haven't been watching DeChambeau, and here he is minus 160 against Cameron Smith, who's plus 140. Haven't seen Cameron Smith either, but I love Cameron Smith in that matchup, right? The last time I saw Cameron Smith played, he was dueling Rory, where he beat him at the Open Championship, and Rory hit 18 greens and never made a putt, right? And Cameron Smith hung on. So I kind of like Cameron Smith in that matchup. I do watch Justin Thomas a lot. He's even money with Tony Finau, who's minus 140. Finau's having a pretty good year, while Justin Thomas just made a caddy change.
Yes.
He just fired Bones.
Yeah, that's the part to me that I'm shocked, to be honest with you, that he's even. He's going through a caddy change. I don't know if you know, I haven't heard who his new caddy is going to be, but that's a whole situation and a really bold strategy on his part, going away from Bones this close to the Masters. There's got to be something going on there. I want to stay away from
What's
that.
going on is I don't think he's made a cut in a while. I mean, he's really really having a bad year after he won a PGA. Guys, he was, him and Spieth and Rory were kind of the face of Live, or the PGA Tour versus Live. He hasn't said a word in months, and one of the reasons is he's just really struggling with his game. He'll have a good round. He'll shoot a 65, but that used to come on Saturday. Now it comes on, Thursday or Friday, and then the 75 comes on.
I was about to say the 75 is right Saturday.
After. There are an awful lot of these matchups, and I'll just whip through them quickly. Justin Thomas versus Cameron Young. They're both laying $1.10. Tony Finau versus Cameron Young. Tony lays $1.20. Matthew Fitzpatrick, who you just mentioned, you kind of like a little bit, against Fairway Jesus, Tommy Fleetwood, who we haven't talked about at all. But the reason we haven't talked about Tommy, he's another guy. He can't win.
Yes.
He can't win. The guy's every time. Sunday, if there was a prop, who's going to have the low score of the day? I would potentially bet Tommy Fleetwood, 62, 63 Sunday. That's because he's already 20 shots back.
Yeah. It's he needs to get that Sunday round any other day. Right. Pick any one of the days. It doesn't matter, because he needs to have that. And I really like Tommy Fleetwood too. I've been a big fan of him for years. Yeah. And again, I really want him to see him do well, but I can't pick him.
He's one of the guys like Xander, who I bet him quite a bit in majors and other tournaments, just waiting for him to break through. And the guy, if he could get the 62 on Friday, then just hang on.
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. But he shoots himself out of it every time so early. He played last week. He was in the second to last group and didn't even show a shot.
Yeah.
He was never on TV Sunday until he was shaking Batia's hand on the last hole.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy just can't bring it home when he has to. Let's see. There's a couple more. Colin Morikawa, guy we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
U.S. Open winner.
Yep.
He's rounding into shape. Read quite a few things that people like Colin Morikawa in this tournament.
Yeah.
He's in the top 5 in greens and regulation.
Mhm.
Great ball striker. Doesn't hit it very far. You have to hit it far at Augusta, especially if it gets wet, although the weather report is pretty good as I've seen it so far, although those storms blow into the Georgia at any time. You like Morikawa at all? He's playing Max Homa in this matchup.
You know, I'm going to be such a homer here. Max Homa grew up in the town that I grew up in Valencia, California. So I really do like Max Homa on that. I love Colin Morikawa too, and I love his game. But he's also been, he may be leading in greens regulation, but I kind of want to see a little bit more of that consistency. You're starting to see Homa, second and first page more often. You're not seeing that a whole lot from Morikawa.
Mm-hmm.
So again, love Colin, but I'm taking the homer pick and picking Homa at plus 115.
Well, there's a whole sheet here at the South Point for the 2024 Masters for all of the matchups. Come down and check them out. There's some on here that are really interesting to look at. Sam Burns, who I mentioned earlier, his wife's pregnant. Don't know if he'll even finish. So why not take Russell Henley in that matchup? And I like Russell Henley a lot anyway. They go all the way down to JT Postum has taken on Adrian Hadwin. Bubba Watson's playing against Gary Woodland. It was a great story on Gary Woodland on ESPN there tonight, or Golf Channel, I forget. But Woodland, he won a U.S. Open. He had a seizure, growth on his brain. It wasn't a tumor, but it was a growth, and it was making him have panic attacks. And he had it removed in November, and he's now back playing on the tour. He's listed 500-1 in this tournament. I hope he comes back all the way through. But you can bet against him if you want, or you could bet on him in this matchup.
It's a great story either way, and we love seeing those kind of stories back on golf.
Yeah. Come on down and take a look at all of the matchups here at the South Point. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go through the props and give you our best bets.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grandview Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back to the South Point Masters Show. It comes up this week. A lot of great golf starting on Thursday and Sunday afternoons when the tournament really begins. The back 9 on Sunday at Augusta. There's some proposition bets out here that Chris has put on the board. They're pretty exciting. If you like to bet the props, here's the opening one right on the top of the sheet. The total. Will it be over or under 276.5? The par is 288, right? It's a par 72 golf course. So you're looking at 11.5 or 12. CJ, what do you think the final score is going to be?
I think I think that's probably the best line I've ever heard in the history of golf, to be honest with
Right.
you. 10, 11, that's the sweet spot for if it's going to be a big day with the nice weather.
Yeah.
I think with this firepower, though, I think getting the over just by like 1 or 2, I think that's what gets it done.
You like over the total, meaning you think it's going to be the lower
Yes,
score.
yes, thank you.
I
yeah.
just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually like the under. And so that's what
Yeah.
you're saying is you
Yeah.
like the under. The reason I like the under is this year, 20 under has been the number like for almost every tournament.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder if there was a conspiracy that they're putting pin placements in easy spots. So PGA Tour guys were making a lot of birdies like the live guys. They're not going to do that at the Masters, but the conditions are the key and the weather is supposed to be nice.
Yeah.
If the weather's nice, then the scoring happens.
Yes.
They can make these greens do anything they want. They got the agronomics to
Yes.
make them hard, to make them fast, make them soft, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
So we're both going to take the under on the total score. Another one is, will Scotty Scheffler finish in the top 10 of the 2024 Masters? I love it. It's
That's an easy one.
minus 220, but Scotty Scheffler is going to be there at the finals.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be in the top 10. In my opinion, I like it. Not a lot of value, but it's not a bad bet either.
Yeah.
Will Alexander Schauffele finish in the top 10? And that's a yes plus 150. What do you think about that one?
Hammering that every day.
I love it as well. I love it written down. Alexander Schauffele. Will Hideki Matsuyama finish in the top 10? That's plus 170.
That one, don't love it as much.
Now, you and I have a side bet
Yes.
for a beer.
Deal.
I love Hideki.
Deal.
I'm going to take Hideki in that one, plus 170. And then on the last bet on the prop sheets, I think there's approximately about 30 of these, is will Tiger Woods make the cut at the Masters? It's even money. Yes. It's minus 120. No. He's got 24 in a row.
Do you really use your mind and your logic when you bet with Tiger?
Nope.
No, you're not supposed to.
That's right.
You make sure you bet on him making the cut.
That's such
Get
a
number
great,
25.
That's such a great point, CJ. Such a great point. I'll have Tiger to make the cut as well. Best bets. I'll give you my first best bet. And this is the one that I like a lot. It's not my absolute best bet for value, but it's my best bet for one of the bets I'm going to make is Hideki Matsuyama. A lot of guys are starting to discover him now. He's been bet down from 40 to 1 as low as 15 to 1 at some places. He's 25 here at the South Point. He won at Riviera, as I mentioned earlier this year, shooting 62. His putter tends to go cold, but he is the best chipper of the golf ball, pitcher of the golf ball right now, along with Jordan Spieth. And if his putter just stays warm, I love Hideki Matsuyama.
Yes.
What's your top?
So I, as you know, I'm a big numbers math nerd, right? I will go into stats a lot about it. And if we look at Masters winners, right? If we go into strokes gained total, right? How much better than are you against the average golfer in your field? And strokes gained approach the green. How much better are you at getting close to the hole from the fairway? You look at those kind of statistics, 4 of the last 5 winners have been in the top 10 going into Masters Week, including 7 of the last 9 in the top 25 for strokes gained total. You also look at strokes gained approach to the green. The last 5 winners have been in the top 30 in that statistic going into the Masters the week prior. 3 out of those 5 have been in the top 12.
Well, every stat you just mentioned is Scotty Scheffler's number 1 in.
And that's what makes it interesting
Yeah.
because even with all of that, my personal favorite, and also the one person that didn't play last week, the one person that actually is meeting all of those statistics, Xander Schauffele at
Yeah.
15 to 1.
Well, he's my next one that I got on
Yep.
the sheet. I got Xander. 6 top 5s in majors. Just finished second at the Players. Top 5 at Augusta last year. The guy he's got to win eventually. He's got a gold medal. You know, he won the Olympic gold medal.
Yes.
But he hasn't won a major on the PGA Tour. And the Masters would be so fitting for him. I like Xander as well.
Yes.
My next pick, by the way, I was going to mention Xander. Last 24 rounds, Scheffler's number 2 in strokes gained, second in pars on par 4, second in pars on scoring on par 4s. He's 3rd in greens and regulation, 4th in strokes gained off the tee. Scheffler's, he's probably the guy that's going to be right there. If he's not, man,
Yeah.
that poor guy.
Yeah.
It's like Greg Norman. I mean, he's just never going to get there if he doesn't get there this year. He's under the radar. My 3rd pick is Russell Henley.
I like that.
75 to 1. He finished 4th last year. He finished in the top 3 last week, or finished 4th last week. Finished in the top 4 at Augusta last year. People do not pay attention to Russell Henley. He is a bulldog. And Russell Henley's at 75 to 1. I love him. He's one of my top players.
Yes. So this is a two-parter for me for a long shot. One is who I think is a good long shot. Another one is actually going to talk a little bit about that Scotty Scheffler second kind of favorite that you like. Another fun little stat that for you there is the last favorite to win the Masters was 2015 Jordan Spieth.
Really?
So that's one that I kind of stay away from. That was the last time a favorite for the Masters actually won.
Interesting stat.
Yes. However, my long shot, again, going into statistics and going kind of away from all of that, I really like Akshay Bhatia.
Really?
I do. I really do. I was fortunate when I went to school here at UNLV. I was very fortunate to look at his swing over in our biomechanics lab, one of the purest swings I've seen. He's 4th in strokes gained total and 12th in strokes gained approach after this phenomenal week, obviously. The only hesitation I have with him at 100 to 1, first time player to win the Masters, Fuzzy Zeller in 79.
Yeah, and he just won last week. Winning 2 weeks in a row is tough, and he separated his shoulder last week. So excuse me. I don't know how that's going to hold up, but you know what? I actually going into it, I kind of liked him a lot before last week, and I just wanted him to qualify. Excuse me.
Yeah, and I really think that as long as that shoulder isn't that big of an issue, I still think even at 100 to 1, it's worth, like you said, putting $10-15 on.
Well, my last guy, because my long shot is Alex Noren.
Yeah.
I'd like Alex Noren at 250 to 1. If I'm going to take a long shot, I'm going to throw a little bit of money on him. And I'm going to also throw a small little wager, probably $20 on Tiger and Phil, just so I have a ticket.
Why not?
I'd like to have a ticket with those guys' name on it.
Why not?
They're not going to play, many more when they're going to be competitive.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. We hope you have a winning weekend. This is the Masters week. We'll see you as it comes time for the U.S. Open. This is South Point Masters Show. CJ, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure
For all the
to be here,
guys down here, Chris Andrews and Vinny and Jimmy and all those boys, good luck at the Masters this week.